Welcome, Bards, to an overview of a free-to-play, early access, party-based, roguelite, RPG, auto-battler, idle clicker. Bit of a mouthful. Some of you here might be thinking, hey, this isn't Idle Champions, and to you I say, very astute. Don't worry, I'm still covering Idle Champions in the future, but I've never been the type to only do one thing for too long. So I want to talk about another game, in a somewhat similar territory you may be interested in, and one that doesn't have enough coverage in my opinion. So let's talk about Bard Idle. Were you idle as a bard? The concept of the game is very simple. You build a party and progress as far as you can and reset when you hit your wall to gain currencies and resources to potentially further your progression on the next run. But the more you play, the more you unravel the multitude of mechanics which will alter your playstyle. I'm about to unload information about this game, so don't forget if you're looking for something in particular, the timestamps are there for you. To start, you will have to select your first party member from randomly generated characters between a set of races and classes, each with unique stats and abilities. In the beginning, you will have to choose between two, but this can be upgraded later. The attributes, or characteristics, are as follows. Strength, dexterity, and wisdom will affect weapon scaling. Constitution increases health points. Cunning allows a hero to gain gold with every hit, gold being the currency used to purchase upgrades within your current adventure. Accuracy increases the chance of critical damage, and initiative affects how quickly a hero will act. For races, there are human, who don't start with any unique attributes, but they get an option later to choose their bonuses, which makes them quite versatile. The Orc, who naturally has +2 strength and +2 constitution, and the passive ability Gourmet, which grants them +3 strength while your party is actively eating soup. We'll get to what that means in a second. The Elf, who gains +2 wisdom and +1 to dexterity, and has the passive Talk with Tree, which makes them interact with trees you will randomly encounter as you progress to give your squad a buff. The Goblin, who has +2 cunning and +2 dexterity, but they have a -3 constitution, naturally lowering their health. And lastly, the Undead, who do not gain any characteristics and cannot be healed in combat, but rather have a number of rebirth charges to draw from to instantly revive themselves should they die. Classes can also gain characteristics on top of the racials, and will also offer their own unique mechanic to the group. For starting classes, you will have access to the Knight, who gets +11 constitution and has 2 passives. Shield, which reduces damage they take by 30%, and Protector, which gives them a higher chance to be pushed to the front line of your squad. The Thief, who gains +1 cunning and +1 dexterity, and has the passive Open the Lock. Open your, which allows them to open chests and rain gold upon your party when you randomly encounter a chest in your run. The Archer, which gains +1 dexterity, accuracy, and initiative. The Druid, which has +5 to wisdom, and like elves can talk with the trees you come in contact to give your squad a miracle. They also summon stumps as pets that gain 20% of the druid's damage and max HP, and fight with your squad. Priests gain +3 wisdom and have the ability to heal the squad, and interact with shrines you find along the way to grant your party a random blessing. Between druids and priests, do note that miracles and blessings are in fact different things, and you can tell which is active based on the buff tab on the left. Circles are blessings and stars are miracles. And then there are the 2 filler classes, Bandit, which gains +1 to cunning and strength, and Mercenary, which gets +2 in strength and dexterity, and +1 in constitution. Now don't forget, this game is called Bard Idle, and that means each adventure you run is for working toward writing your magnum opus. As you progress, you earn inspiration to write lines within the chapters of your ballad. Each selection chosen randomly between a pool of options per chapter to grant you buffs on your current adventure. There are 10 lines for each chapter, but there are some things to pay attention to, like choruses, which can be selected potentially multiple times and might be affected by even other choices down the line. Generally speaking, each chapter will have more powerful buffs in their pool than the previous, though Chapter 5 works a bit differently, as it offers you a choice between 2 illustrations, which itself takes up an entire chapter's page, so you can only choose one. This is usually a very potent buff to your party because of that, ranging from increasing a specific weapon's output, a focus on increasing a specific race, immensely increasing gold find, making fire damage more powerful with larger radial AoE, and much more. All of the chapter buffs can range drastically. Anything from increased damage, gold find, specific weapon scaling bonuses, critical chance, critical damage, adding attributes to races or actions to classes, and of course interacting with more mechanics that we'll dive into shortly. The lines of chapters are purchased after you reach certain inspiration thresholds, which is gained by killing enemies and progressing through zones naturally, and potentially some other methods you unlock later. Each zone has 10 waves, and every 10th zone you are met with a boss. When you defeat that boss, you will receive a consumable called ambrosia, which can be used to sacrifice one of your heroes for a flower, which can then be given to a hero of your choice to grant them a buff. If you sacrifice a priest of any kind, you will get a tulip, which gives you initiative. Knights, goblins, and orcs will give you chamomile, which will increase your health. And everything else will get you a rose, which will increase your damage. Once you reach the 100th zone, however, you come face to face with the big bad dragon. To get that far along, you have to understand how to properly upgrade your heroes with more than just your ballad. Every time you kill an enemy, or click down a creature like a rabbit, scorpion, rat, etc., you will receive gold. You will spend this gold on either hiring a new hero to join the party, or upgrading your squad health, weapon damage, or receiving an additional use of soup. Each of these upgrades have thresholds you can reach, which grant you a selection of an even more specialized buff. From the health section, you can select a colored jelly dwarf to increase a hero's characteristics with. From the weapons, you will earn gems to socket in a hero's weapon to increase their scalings. From the soup, you will be able to select ingredients that will buff the squad whenever you are actively eating the soup, which for the record should be always. If you run out of soup, head to camp, gather those soups back up, then get back out there. As you push, you'll notice that there are achievements for reaching certain zones. 5, 10, 20, 25, 33, 44, 66, and 88. These achievements will unlock quests, which you can choose to activate when you start a new run. These quests will lock you in a restriction for that run, but the furthest zone you push within that quest will give you a buff that persists through runs. The quests and rewards for pushing them are as follows. You can only hire goblins for the reward of more gold. 10 times damage increase, but a reduction of health at 0.0 times for a reward of more squad damage. 10 times health for both you and enemies for the reward of more squad health. You can only hire one hero for a reward of more inspiration. You can only hire 4 heroes for a reward of more notes, which we'll cover in a bit. You can only hire assassins, bandits, thieves, and cultists for a reward of a chance at getting 2 times gold. And there is the last quest that doesn't necessarily give you a permanent buff, but rather rewards you with knowledge, which we'll also cover in a second. You receive a nerf to gold earned at a rate of 0.01 times, but get a buff to how much blue jelly you earn, making it ideal for wisdom-based builds. So ideally, you want to rotate what quests you're pushing with so you can maintain a healthy buff from all of the quests. And when it comes to doing a normal run, you can activate none of them if you choose to, but who could pass up a run with 10 times damage, huh? Now, you can finish your ballad at any time once you've written at least one line to earn a certain amount of pens based on this formula. Zone number times time spent times gold earned times ballad lines written times bosses killed, and later times the arena multiplier. This will end that run and bring you back to the quest menu to start a fresh run. But you can now spend these pens on permanent buffs in the writer's shop. This is the heart of increasing your performance. You'll see a lot of potential buffs here, ranging from health, gold, and damage bonuses, unique increases to different weapon types, criticals, the ability to assign racial components to humans, more resurrections for undead, but also very importantly, more classes. There are some pretty strong options here, and whatever you learn will be thrown into your pool of potential classes when selecting a squad member, so choose wisely. There is a new type of class within some of these choices, and that is a Master.
Dungeon Master.
Masters are unique because once you choose a Master, no other Master can be selected for that run. So as you can imagine, they offer the group a powerful buff. The Masters are as follows. Sword Master, who grants everyone using swords, rapiers, or sabers, +1 to their strength and dexterity scaling. Shooting Master, which gives archers +1 arrow when they fire. Master of Candle, who doubles the efficiency of blessings, and will themselves periodically cast a blessing on the squad. The Dagger Master will grant every squad member using a dagger an additional strike when they attack. And lastly, the Dark Master will double the damage and HP of all undead squad members. But Masters aren't the only additional classes you can unlock here. In fact, in general, most of the best ways to deal damage and set up unique squads will be found in the classes here. So let's go over them. The Legionnaire, who has Strength +1 and Constitution +2, will grant another +1 Strength and +2 Constitution to Legionnaires for each Legionnaire you've hired into the squad. The Lumberjack, who has +1 Strength and +1 Constitution, but has the passive Axe Power, granting all allies in the squad +4 base damage if they are using axes. Beast, which has a whopping 10 strength and 5 dexterity, and has the passive Carnage, which makes them deal a quick 5 extra moves at the beginning of battle. Assassin, who has +1 to their accuracy and +5 to their dexterity, and will start each battle with invisibility. And if they attack from invisibility, they will deal 10 times damage, but it is lost after they attack. Dark Priest, which will debuff enemies with dark marks, increasing the damage they take by 10%. And their counterpart, Priest of Light, which will grant courage to squad members, increasing the damage of that unit by 1%. Who is better between the two? In my opinion, Dark Priests. Not just because 10% versus 1%, but because if an allied unit dies and is revived, they will lose all courage stacks. Whereas Dark Marks persist until that enemy dies, and can just be stacked up. Then you have the Happy Monk, who gets more strength depending on how much life they have, though their strength and other characteristics cannot exceed 100 million, or 1.0 E8. And by the way, I highly recommend turning on scientific notation in the options, as it's much easier to understand the numbers of this game if you do, in my opinion. For those who don't know, the E, or exponent, simply put, represents how many times you move the decimal, hence 1E8 being 100 million. And because of how easy it ends up being to reach this strength threshold, the Happy Monk stands up as one of the best DPS in the game. Though they do have a downside in that they only attack once, no combo, and no area of effect. So you'll either have to rely on vastly increasing their initiative, or finding ways to grant them AoE in your Ballad. And lastly, we have the Cultist, who gets +1 to their flat weapon damage when they hit an enemy, and +3 when they kill one. So if you intend to farm them hard and heavy, you can absolutely make them a powerhouse. But to even attempt to compete with the Happy Monk, they will need to farm for a very long time. So the question becomes, what do you want to pair together? A Dagger Master and an Assassin? Legionnaires with a Sword Master? Master of Kendall with any DPS choice? For reference, my personal progression was using Goblin Archers with a Shooting Master, into stacking Lumberjacks to pair with an axe-wielding Beast and a Master of Candle, into variants of the Happy Monk and loads of Dark Priests, and sometimes tinkering with the Cultist. Orcs and humans in particular are great races for many DPS classes, because of how many gourmet-specific buffs there are for damage increases. And orcs naturally have gourmet, and the humans can learn it in the writer's shop. To even gain access to some of these options though, you're going to need knowledge, which is obtainable one of two ways. You gain a point of knowledge for every upgrade you get within the writer's shop, and you can also farm them in the quest I mentioned earlier. Fairly simple. 2 unique books you very much want to watch out for are Fame and Fortune in the Finance Shelf, to unlock another hero selection when picking a hero, and Chiromancy in the Magic Shelf, that unlocks magical hands. These hands can be purchased as you progress in a run to grant you a small quality of life increase, like a grill hand that gives you a radius when you click to more easily clear waves of rabbits and the like, or small scaling life and damage bonuses, but more importantly than any of them, the Dark Hand, which will either mark enemies with a Dark Priest's mark or fully revive a downed hero. Very important. And also, as a quick note, anytime you have a selection, be it jelly, gems, hands, you will always have 1 free reroll. But you'll also see in that writer's shop, some of the more advanced books are sealed. How does one break that seal? Well, once you get the hang of the game and get to farming, you'll see every 25 zones you've pushed, there is a new potential mechanic unlocked. Zone 25 will unlock access to the arena, where you can fight to push as deep as you can with the current squad you've built. To receive Fame based on how far you can push. Fame is used to grant you damage, gold, health, and pen multipliers. Do keep in mind though, if you choose to take your squad to the arena, when you're killed in the arena, that's it for that squad. No resets for pens or anything. Zone 50 grants you the ability to perform a concert, which will reset your quests, writer shop, and arena progress. But you will gain notes in return, which will permanently increase your health, damage, gold find, pen gain, and inspiration by a flat %. Also, once you reach certain leagues, based on how many notes you've obtained, you will unlock a mechanic or bonus to the game. The Stone League at 10,000 notes will open up a new shelf in the writer's shop, with some powerful books. The first 3 are hefty damage, health, and gold multipliers, and the 4th is a gift from the gods for progression. Each investment will unlock a use of teleportation to a boss. You can level this book 5 times to be able to zip zoop all the way to Zone 50, jumping from boss to boss, though you do have to actually kill the bosses. The Iron League at 50,000 will unlock Enhanced Weapon Mode, which when selected will give your squad 5 times damage. But it does have a give and take, where heroes cost more and the cost will grow rapidly, to the point you're likely never to be able to even reach a full squad. Then the Bronze League at 200,000, which unlocks Megadwarf. This will make the jellies you earn from upgrading your squad health take a lot more to unlock, but for a big old dwarf, which grants jelly at 15 per second compared to the smalls 1, so you can upgrade those characteristics even more. Just remember you'll have fewer to choose from going this route, so make sure you pick the ones you need. There are other leagues you can reach, but at this time there isn't anything else to unlock based on the early access state of the game and will be introduced later. Zone 75 is Ballad Burninng, and this is the key to unlocking those sealed books in the writer's shop. Instead of finishing your ballad or performing a concert, you can now say, screw it, and burn that ballad to gain Unburnable manuscripts. You can spend these to remember a book, so you will permanently keep the book in whatever state you've leveled it up to, even after a concert reset, and potentially even more importantly, you can upgrade books, so you can spend even more pens on them to severely increase their output. We're talking crazy multipliers from the damage and gold books, and remember that teleport I was talking about? Yeah, upgrade that baby to its cap of 10, so you can zip zoop all the way to 100 to get to that dragon. Though you of course again have to be able to kill all of the bosses you've zooped to. And of course, you can use these manuscripts to unlock the sealed books. Zone 100 will have you come face to face with a mighty dragon. A tough boss fight that will require plenty of damage and proper planning and a little luck. Once you defeat the dragon, you will unlock a buff with the Dragon Blood. That, depending on how you've built your squad, will give you a large boost to your damage or survivability, in some way, shape, or form. The choices here are pretty clear-cut depending on what you've chosen to focus on. Gourmet buff, specific weapon type damage increase, health and regen multiplier, garnets for raw scaling, that kind of thing. You will also receive a Dragon Eye, which you will also need should you want to unlock some of the seals. But more importantly, Every 2 hours you can use it to instantly get to Zone 100, right back up to the dragon on your next run. And this does entirely skip all the bosses, unlike the Runa book. And for any of those who might be wondering, if you are using a cultist, they will farm up kills along the way when you do it this way, so you're not hitting like a wet noodle once you arrive. Zone 125 allows you to perform a concert tour, which works as an enhanced concert. You will earn way more notes doing it this way than you would a normal concert, while maintaining any progress you've made in the arena. This will greatly accelerate your income of notes and let you ascend to the leagues even faster, though there isn't much reason to unlock the higher leagues yet. But still, more notes without having to sacrifice your arena is a very good thing. Zone 150 gives you the ability to start guilds, a permanent bonus to various book cap levels in your writer's shop, so you can upgrade even beyond what their hard cap was from Burninng. Some guilds are hard to form though, as they take a very specific squad to be built and progressed to Zone 150, like the Guild of Priests, requiring 20 from either Priests, Dark Priests, or Candle Masters. But you gain plus 10 max book pages to Runa. You know, the teleportation book that lets you teleport zones? Yeah, let's just get that to Zone 200 now. Or the Guild of Necromancers that requires at least 20 undead in your squad to gain 5 more pages for undead's revive charges, and more damage and health pages to War and Vita. The Guild of Hunters with 20 archers, shooting masters, or druids to get more utility with rabbits, beetles, and hawks. The Guild of Thieves with 20 thieves, bandits, or dagger masters for more gold and better crits. The Guild of Warriors with 20 knights, legionnaires, or sword masters for more damage and health. And the Guild of Assassins, requiring 20 mercenaries or assassins for more crits, damage, and gold. There are 2 other guilds, the Guild of Mages and the Guild of Dwarves, that are, as far as I know, not able to be unlocked yet. So look for those in the future. Zone 175 is a simple threshold that unlocks a passive effect, comedy and tragedy, which will grant you 10 times the pens when you finish your ballad, or 5 times your unburnable manuscripts earned. So essentially, if you can reach this zone, make sure you do, every time if your intent is to perform a concert or burn your ballad. And Zone 200 is another dragon. And yes, killing this one will grant you a second choice of a Dragon Blood bonus, and upgrade your Dragon Eye to level 2. So when you use the eye, you push all the way to Zone 200 automatically. A great use for this is to make sure you get every single quest progressed to at least Area 200. Now, something else that scales with you as you push in zones is the tarot cards. Starting on the 4th zone, you will have a choice between 3 cards for yet another means of increasing your squad's performance. There are some unique options with these cards though, like not requiring priests for blessings, thieves for chests, and increasing all of those buffs on top of that, speeding up the game, damage multipliers, and something very unique. One that completely automates your game with an AI that is batshit insane, and not in a good way. I've seen it invest all of my flowers and gems into a hero, and then use an ambrosia on that hero and it all goes poof. Only use the Hanged Man if you have no intention of making a deep push. I also want to take a second to touch on the card Temperance. 5 times damage and 5 times health, but you can only ever have 5 soups. This doesn't sound like a great trade-off, but keep something in mind. Much like the Ballad line that gives Gourmet 10 times HP and 10 times damage, but consumes 5 soup per use, any soup you have eaten up to that point will still be active when you take them, and you can take both of these increases to get some great multiplicative damage. You will just have to be sure you've upgraded and consumed your maximum soups before taking these choices, and be sure you're ready to push as far as you're going to before that time runs out, because you ain't getting much soup back after that. Very good for a hard push though. Now let's talk about the part no one ever really wants to talk about: monetization, microtransactions. This comes in the form of candy and tokens. They can both be purchased to give permanent increases to your game. But to be frank, most of these increases are minor, but a lot of them can be considered major. Namely, early on, you can gain more hero choices with candy. The tokens are for a literal gacha machine that pump out a unique item that will also grant you minor bonuses, like an increase to jelly production or slight damage and gold increases. The potential major bonuses here are like when you collect all 3 toads, you'll get extra choices in choosing things like dwarfs or spices. All is not lost for free-to-play players, however, as once a day for 10 candy and once a week for 1 token, you can play the minigame of capturing the rabbit. It is a much slower process, no doubt, but I'm here to say that spending, at least at this point in the game, is nowhere near required. While this certainly is an element of pay to win, well, pay to progress faster, though when progression is winning in the game, that is absolutely pay to win, it is fully completable without paying anything. As far as I know, I have pushed as far as its current development has reached, and I haven't paid anything. Some of this game is certainly idle, but for a lot of you when you hear idle, you want something very hands-off. Well, this one is fairly hands-on, with a side serving of idle, so keep that in mind. Also, I'd just like to note that this game is constantly getting new updates. Just in the time I've been playing and decided to make this video, which is 2 months on and off, there have been like 3 updates that have all introduced further progression or brand new mechanics, like the arena, the tarot cards, and Chapter 7 of the Ballad, or quality of life like finally being able to move stacks of gems and flowers. Thank you. With some better UI management as well. It's a work in progress, but it's one that I've had fun with along the way. Thanks for hanging around today. If this game seems interesting to you at all, give it a go. It's free on Steam. And if you liked this video, I'd love it if you'd upgrade that like, sub, and bell for me. But even more importantly, have a hell of a time out there, bards.